Thank you so much for taking out time for this.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today, Shweta. Just because you're a content creator, if you have followers, all of that, everything comes served on a platter. And maybe for some people it's true. I am not in that category yet. So I had to obviously so I audition very regularly. A lot of casting agents reach out to me. There's auditioning that I do very diligently. And I think through one of the auditions, um, one of the agencies reached out to me and told me about this movie happening and this character, and I had two rounds of auditions with them, and then I think within a month, um and everything was forgotten for a month, and then within a month I got a call from Riya Kapoor, and I was just like, oh my God, what the hell just happened? And after that we had like some 4 5 rounds of auditions and screen tests again, and maybe one or two Zoom meetings with other people from the cast. Bhumi, me, Dolly, me, Rabia's character, different permutations and combinations. So a month-long procedure of just auditioning, screen testing, chemistry testing. And that's when, by the end of it, we got finalized. End of Jan, somewhere. So yeah.
Sounds really nice. Nice in the
Yeah.
sense of kind of democratic and in a good way.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely.
Good.
It was very
So,
democratic.
how much of that
So
is
yeah,
Shibani?
that um I feel like minus the child aspect, I feel like there is a lot of, I am also a little bit of a over responsible, over accountable person in life. So it's easy to relate to the whole mama hen energy, because I also have this tendency where I'm like, I will take care of this. I have to consciously break away. Like while as Shibani, I'm trying to get away from being this hyper responsible, hyper aware, whatever, hyper vigilant person. Tina Das is like the character I play, is that person. So it was easy to bring my own lived experiences and put it in the, body that and the soul that I needed to create for this person that I was portraying on camera. So yeah, it was not very tough to play Tina, basically. I was like, I relate to you. I know this happens when you're too responsible. So
Do you want to talk about any incident where you took too much of responsibilities and your friends or your family or anyone close to you kept reminding you that you should not be doing this?
um so not, I think my friends obviously, so not family, because I think I'm the older child. So my family is a lot of like old people, there are no kids. There are barely 3 kids in my father's side of the family. My oldest cousin, my only first cousin, is like 17 years older than me. And then it's me and my younger brother. So by default, I was raised to be a very responsible child. Like I was my brother's ad hoc mom, and I had to know better. I had no room to be stupid and childish, because somebody had to be the intelligent one or the responsible one in the family dynamic between the four of us, my dad, mom, me, and my brother. And I also, my dad was not, he's had a bunch of chronic illnesses, because of which his the awareness of his mortality came very early to us. Like, there were a lot of instances where he'd be constantly in the hospital, and this is when I was not even 12 years old or something. So suddenly the weight of maybe being in charge when your father or some crucial member of your family is not in a position to tackle their burden or your burden in life, that awareness came a lot early, and I feel like nobody entrusted me with that. I think I internalized that very early on. So I feel like the family didn't have a problem with it, because that meant that they didn't have to do my share of work. I was doing my share of work, and I was also helping out and doing other people's share of emotional labor. But given that, this pattern may work for certain life decisions that you take, in the larger scheme of things, when you're interacting with the world or forging relationships or friendships with other people outside, it could be a little counterproductive, because people may take advantage of it, and you might just take a lot of load which you shouldn't. It doesn't belong to you. And thankfully my friends, some of them have been very aware of it and have guided me to work through it. And then I think uh, therapy really helped. I feel like 2, 3 years of doing therapy regularly has made it a lot easy to be okay with being irresponsible, being okay with not always being perfect, and being okay with not taking guilt for not being perfect and responsible all the time, which is something that I didn't know because that's just not been my life. So I feel like I have to give credit to my friends largely, and definitely to my therapist for helping me navigate that space.
Wonderful that
So
you have such friends.
thanks.
So how was it
Thanks.
working with the gang of girls in the film?
It was fabulous, Shweta. So the thing is, I didn't have a lot of scenes with Shanaz and Kusha because their scenes were largely with either Anil sir or Bhumi or other people. I had a lot of time that I got to share on set with Bhumi and Dolly and a few other people here and there, but largely Bhumi. And Dolly, I've known for a while. We worked in IDVA together. So Bhumi was somebody I was very like, um, maybe slightly intimidated by, given that, I mean, whatever, she's one of the finest actors of our generation. She has such a big body of work. She's a star. So when I landed on set, I was like, okay, I do not know what will I be judged as? Will it be easy? But I feel like from the moment we met on a Zoom interview till yesterday, which was our last day of promotion, I will say she's one of the most empathetic, kind, compassionate, inclusive people I know with so much generosity and this amazing big sister energy. It's like she brings all the wisdom that she's gathered over time being in the industry and navigating it and does not mind sharing it with you so that it makes your life easy. And given that we spent a month with all of like with the whole troop, 5 of us were in and out of different spaces, even Canada, whatever, we all went together. One would presume that so much like women energy could lead to conflict or create insecurity. I feel like all of us, it was just a wonderful experience living these 30 days that I have with all 5 of us in each other's face. I feel like if I could sum it up in one line, it will be like we were all constantly adjusting each other's crown and each other's gown. Every time somebody fell short, the others would help them get up. And it was the most absolutely fantastic experience of my life. I hands down. Um, Shweta, I feel like this movie, as a woman in her 30s who's single and navigating life independently alone with all the taboos around singledom and all the backlash sometimes you get when you are not apologetic for occupying the space that you do. This movie made me feel seen. Even for the first time when I read the script, I was like, यार ये पूरी तरह से मेरी कहानी नहीं है, बट ये कहानी मेरी है. इसमें मैं भी हूँ, इस कहानी में मैं हूँ. टीना दास की कहानी, कनिका कपूर की कहानी, जितने भी कैरेक्टर्स हैं उन सब में कहीं ना कहीं हम हैं. और हम I feel like I felt seen because every character brings a certain narrative, a certain reality that women face when they are fierce, when they are a mess, when they don't apologize, and when they are not perfect, and when they want to have fun and live their life on their own terms. And I think what made it even more fabulous is that this movie is a movie made by women, written by women. So it was basically the female gaze that was turned inwards, which made us all find so much perspective and so much acceptance for ourselves through the story of these women that we were portraying. So, matlab, that way, I would say that apart from being therapeutic, working with Thank You for Coming also gave me, it made me more brave and more accepting of my life. It made me feel seen. And yeah, like I feel like if I was reluctant to maybe own up to my authentic self through the course of working on this film, even through the course of wearing the kind of clothes I've worn, during the promotions, I feel like it's only made me realize what do I keep hiding from? What is there to apologize for? Let's just own your reality, own your flaws, own your space, and stop apologizing for it. Stop questioning yourself all the time. So yeah. So initially, Shweta, the thing is, I have had a very interesting relationship, a very hide and seek kind of relationship with owning up to the fact that I want to be an actor. I have been doing theater since I was very young. I was 5 years old when I played a cow on Janmashtami on stage. I felt very happy. मैंने एक जन्माष्टमी में मैं गाय बनी थी और एक प्ले में मैं भालू बनी थी और मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा था और मैं थोड़ी ना रोबस्ट मैं रोबस्ट थी लंबी चौड़ी थी फॉर माय एज आई वाज बिगर टॉलर so as a kid I was a robust kid. I had a deep voice, I had no inhibition, and I had maybe a lot of people didn't like me for these things, and stage made me feel very comfortable, which is when I discovered कि यार ये space is a good space to be in because यहाँ पे मुझे ना लोग judge नहीं करते. And over time, that initiation became a reason for me to maybe associate myself with theater more. Over time, I also discovered that, okay, as a person who's on stage, I also feel like if I just take generic feedback in, I have the skill set. So anyway, like, but given that मेरे जैसे लोग with the kind of life I come from a very middle class background. हमारे यहाँ पे नौकरी बहुत जरूरी है. आप impulsive decisions नहीं ले सकते. मैं perfect looking नहीं हूँ. मैं कभी भी पतली नहीं थी. मैं कभी भी glam enough नहीं थी. और मैं थोड़ी सी shy भी हूँ. I have had trouble accepting my body, accepting the sizes. I've been different sizes also in life. So the ambition to become an actor, I had to keep diluting it down. I could never be like कि हाँ मैं बम्बई जाके struggle करूंगी because वो बहुत uneven territory है. मेरे अंदर guts नहीं थे. But I feel like every time I've tried to check out from accepting that हाँ मुझे acting अच्छी लगती है, somewhere some pull has constantly brought me back. I was working in the capacity of a journalist for 10 years. Through the end of that journey, I was actually in HT City when I started doing theater again in Delhi. And I would do my job, work till 7 p.m. and then go for my rehearsals, do my plays. Um, और इतना ग्रोलिंग खाना वाना नहीं भी खाकर जो भी पैसे भी नहीं मिलते थे, but it never felt odd because I used to find a lot of happiness on stage. And one thing led to the other, and I realized that doors have opened on their own. Even when I have felt that all faculties are down, this is a dead end. Thank You for Coming as an audition came to me at a point where I felt like this is over. I have to pack up because I'm tired of getting rejected in all the auditions I gave. This is not working out. And within 2 months, I was on the set. So I personally feel like there is some force that wants me to stick it out. I personally feel like I have a lot of resilience in me. I am a product of parents who didn't teach us how to be down. Failure is not an option. To not get up after you failed is not an option. I have to thank myself for that grain, जो हार नहीं मानती. बट हार बहुत हुई है और हार के बाद जब मैं एक्सेप्ट कर लेती हूँ कि हाँ भाई अब हार गए हम, कोई ना कोई दरवाजा खिड़की खुल जाता है, जिस वजह से मुझे लगता है कि देयर इज समथिंग दैट्स नेविगेटिंग मी थ्रू दिस and wants me to show up for my life, and all I do is I show up for my life, and that works out for me in the
What is
right.
the worst kind of rejection, or a project or a film not materializing at any stage? And how do you deal with it?
um so Shweta, there have been times when, see, when you audition for something and you don't make it, you can make peace with that. But I think the worst kind of rejections that sometimes as an actor you face, when you are also not a well-known, credible face or whatever, for whatever reasons, I've faced rejections in the capacity where I've gotten finalized for a project. I've given 3 auditions over 2 months. Everything is happening. हफ्ते के अंदर शूट है, मैं वर्कशॉप करने आई हुई हूँ, सब कुछ ठीक चल रहा है, सब मुझे पॉजिटिव फीडबैक दे रहे हैं, पर मुझे लग रहा है कि कुछ अंडर करंट है. And then 3 days before the shoot, I've been told that you are too fat for this role, so we can't take you, or you don't look good enough, or you don't fit the size of the character we are looking for. And I've felt so cheated because you could have told me this when you were auditioning. I haven't really put on or dropped a lot of weight from the day we started auditioning to the last day. So I feel like a lot of this happens where producers and filmmakers or web show makers or writers change their mind. The brief in their head changes. And then as an actor, you're brutally then eliminated from the final cast selection, um, because you don't fit in this scheme of things. There was another movie that again I got finalized for. I can't take names of these projects because that's a little tricky. But there was another project I got finalized for. Again, met the director, met the writer. Contract is about to be made and everything. And then 2 weeks before the show, they tell me that we need someone younger. And then I got to know who they cast, and that was nobody younger. It wasn't somebody younger than me. It was somebody actually a contemporary or, in the same age bracket who also, you know, same the so they basically cast somebody who wasn't any different from what I was in terms of age, size, look, feel, everything. But
So
they
why do
just
you think
probably
that
needed some.
happens?
I honestly don't know, Shweta. And I think that's also answering your second question also in line with this. I don't know, and I also don't know how to deal with this. It's a there is no, again, structure or accountability for moments like these where you can be finalized, locked, taken to the last leg of a preparation process of the show or the movie that you're working on, and then dropped because somewhere you're not fitting in. There are multiple reasons. I think one of them is definitely the imagination aspect. Sometimes if you don't fit into their vision, once they get you on board and start making you work with other actors on the team, then they have reason to reshuffle the cast or look for an alternative. And sometimes it's also um, maybe getting approvals from somebody more popular who can be relied on more. I feel like a lot of new actors or actors who are maybe not popular enough lose out on work when they get a green signal from somebody who's higher up in the scheme of things, has more credibility. A lot of the power that people who take these calls, that power is absolute. You can't question it. So yeah, I don't know. There are there are multiple reasons, and then there are sometimes no reasons for why this happens. But this is the worst kind of rejection because here you are feeling great, looking forward to this, preparing, trying to read the script, giving the character body, soul, whatever dimension, and then suddenly 3 days before you're told that you're not good enough for this. So and sometimes some people don't even have the grace to tell you that. Like the casting people will tell you कि नहीं नहीं आपको निकाल दिया इससे तो आप प्लीज अपना डेट्स रिलीज कर दो और आप 2 महीने से लगा के बैठे हुए हो उम्मीद कि आप इस प्रोजेक्ट में होगे सब कुछ बट लास्ट मिनट गोली दे देते हैं तो वो थोड़ा सा ज्यादा हर्टफुल होता है.
Then what do you tell yourself? How do you move on?
Well, the first 2, 3 times it's happened to me, Shweta, I've been very. I remember this one particular incident where I was so sad. Like it took me a week. It literally felt like somebody put a chaku in my peat. I was like, मेरे साथ ऐसे क्यों किया? But I think over time, listening to other people's testimonies also, given that this is not something that's just happened to me, it happens to everyone all the time. Um, you just feel like you make peace with yourself, with telling yourself that ठीक है, मतलब, maybe something else. I don't know. You just make peace with the fact that your job is to show up for what you're expected to show up for. Every other force, every other, decision is not yours to control, or you can't do anything about it. So you might as well look forward to what's working out and look forward to your next audition or your next reading as opposed to getting fixated on this.
It must be very difficult. Still.
Yeah, it can be. It's very unpredictable, which I feel like somebody like me who's used to structures. I come from jobs, all of this middle class life. हमें आदत है कि भाई अच्छा इतना मेहनत किया है तो 5% इंक्रीमेंट मिलेगा, 15% मिलेगा, पोजीशन चेंज होगा. और फिर वो मेहनत करने के बाद जब ग्रोथ नहीं होती तो तुम्हें एकदम से लगता है कि भाई ये कौन सी दुनिया है. तो वो थोड़ा सा एडजस्टमेंट करने का मुझे स्ट्रगल हुआ है थोड़ा यहाँ पे. तो कैरेक्टर का नाम मोटी था, फिर then they later changed it to चिड़िया for some reason. Even though nobody establishes the name Chidiya, everybody called me Moti only in that film. It was a Gujar film, basically. I was 18 years old, and I was playing the heroine's best friend, who was the fat sidekick. So obviously she was fat and bubbly, and her name was no points for guessing and no points for creativity, Moti. Um, and I played it very well. I brought all the elements of my bubbliness and motapa to it, and everybody had a good time watching me. And I'm so glad that movie is nowhere. It's maybe mildly there, here and there, bits of it on YouTube, but I don't talk about it because I'm like, can't admit to having done stuff like that.
Hmm. Do you want to talk about how you deal with body shaming and if at all things have changed over the years?
Shweta, I don't think I have the agency to talk about it because I don't know how to deal with body shaming. I just feel like with age, and see, I've been very uncomfortable in my body throughout my life till like 3 years ago. I feel like, uh, especially in my 30s, in my mid 30s, I realized that no matter what size I've been, your discomfort with your body is here. I've been 98 kgs, I've been 58 kgs, and I was miserable at both these sizes. And over time, I've had to make peace with my relationship with myself and my body image here, because of which now, thankfully, I'm at a stage where I'm like, भाई जो है यही है. अब मैं मेहनत तो कर रही हूँ, मैं खा ठीक रही हूँ, मैं कसरत कर रही हूँ, पर अगर my body chooses to be big, or if I'm just supposed to genetically be a certain size, now I can't help it. And I just have to, and I wish I knew this back then, which I feel like I know now. This wisdom came a little late. But ultimately, you just have to accept yourself. You have to remind yourself that this body, for whatever it's worth, has taken you everywhere and done everything that you wanted it to do, fully supporting your internal desires. It's shown up for you. You cannot, for the life of God, be mean to it. You can't curse it. Work on it. Don't work on it. Don't disrespect your body. Don't harm it. But you cannot afford to hate it. And you have to enjoy, no matter what size you're at, yourself and the life you're living with your body. Because all of it is here. You could be any size. If you're not happy with yourself when you were 89 kgs, you will not be happy with yourself when you're 49 kgs. I can guarantee you that. I've been there. So, yeah, you have to fix your relationship with your body in your head. So, I feel like positivity movement is really helpful because at least there are conversations around people's messed up relationship with their bodies now. There are enough representation of women you see who don't have to be anorexic to look acceptable. You know, the time I grew up in, there was no room to be a chubby, full-sized, curvy, medium-sized person. You were vilified for all these things. I think at least now young people have examples, have conversations and dialogues where people are like, just love yourself no matter what size, occupy your space unapologetically. And I think that's the best thing about the body positivity movement. That's what makes me feel very jealous of young girls also today. I'm like, काश 20 साल पहले ऐसा मुझे किसी ने बोली होती तो मैं कितना मतलब खुश रहते अपने आप से.